The champagne glass slipped from her trembling fingers and shattered against the marble floor. Heads turned, the orchestra faltered, and in the suffocating silence of the grand ballroom, she leaned toward a stranger and whispered, barely holding back tears, "Will you dance with me? My ex is watching." Ethan Cole hadn't planned on dancing that night. He hadn't even planned on staying. He was only there because his 10-year-old daughter, Lily, had begged him to attend the city's annual charity gala. "You work too much, Dad," she had said. "And Mrs. Harper says you should meet people." He'd smiled at that. Lily had a way of recruiting the entire world to improve her father's social life. So there he stood in a simple black suit, blending into the background while the wealthy elite shimmered under chandeliers. He preferred being invisible. It was easier that way. Until she stepped beside him. Her name was Ava Bennett. Her red dress was elegant, but it couldn't hide the storm in her eyes. Across the ballroom stood a tall man in a designer tuxedo, his arm wrapped possessively around another woman. His smirk said everything. He wanted her to see him. To hurt. To feel replaced. Ava swallowed hard and looked at Ethan like he was her last lifeline. "Please," she whispered again. "Just one dance." Ethan followed her gaze to the man across the room. He didn't need the full story. He recognized humiliation when he saw it. Without hesitation, he placed his hand gently on her waist. Of course, the music resumed, soft and slow. They stepped onto the dance floor, and immediately the room began to murmur. Ava's ex, Ryan Whitmore, stiffened. Ryan was known for his charm and his temper. He was ambitious, ruthless, and obsessed with appearances. He had ended things with Ava 6 months earlier, after 5 years together, when her struggling art business didn't fit the polished future he envisioned. "I need someone who matches my level," he had said coldly. Tonight, his engagement party doubled as a public display of his success. And Ava had been invited deliberately. As Ethan guided her across the floor, she trembled. "Relax," he murmured softly. "He only has power if you give it to him." She looked up, surprised by his calm voice. "You don't even know me. I know what it feels like to be underestimated." There was no arrogance in his tone. Only truth. Across the room, Ryan's jaw tightened. He whispered something to his fiancée and began walking toward them. "Who's your date, Ava?" he asked loudly enough for nearby guests to hear. Ethan met his gaze but didn't release Ava. "She didn't say she needed one," Ethan replied evenly. Ryan laughed, but it lacked humor. "Do you know who she is? Or are you just enjoying the free champagne?" Ava's cheeks burned. Ethan's voice remained steady. "I know she deserves respect." The words hung in the air like a challenge. Ryan's eyes narrowed. "And you are." Before Ethan could answer, a member of the gala's board hurried over, suddenly flustered. "Mr. Cole, we didn't realize you'd arrived. We would have prepared the private table." The air shifted. Ryan blinked. "Mr. Cole." The board member smiled nervously. "Ethan Cole, founder of Cole Industries." Whispers rippled through the crowd. Cole Industries wasn't just successful, it was revolutionary. A tech empire valued in the billions. Ethan was known for innovation, philanthropy, and avoiding the spotlight. He rarely attended public events and almost never discussed his personal life. Ryan's expression drained of color. Ava stared at Ethan. "You're that Ethan Cole." He gave a small, almost sheepish smile. "I prefer just Ethan." Ryan quickly straightened his jacket, recalibrating. "I didn't realize we were in the presence of such prestige." Ethan didn't react to the flattery. Instead, he turned slightly toward Ryan and said quietly, "Prestige doesn't excuse cruelty." The words struck harder than a slap. Ryan forced a laugh. "This is ridiculous. Ava, you always did enjoy attention." "That did it." Ava pulled away from Ethan slightly, her voice trembling but strong. "No, Ryan, I enjoyed believing in you." "There's a difference." Gasps spread among the guests. Ryan's pride cracked. "You'll regret this," he snapped. "You don't belong in rooms like this without me." Ethan felt Ava's hand tense in his. "She belongs wherever she chooses to stand," Ethan said firmly. Security subtly shifted closer, sensing tension. Ryan realized he was losing control of the narrative, the very thing he valued most. With a sharp glare, he stepped back. "Enjoy your dance," he muttered before retreating. The music continued, softer now. Ava exhaled shakily. "You didn't have to do that." "Yes," Ethan said gently. "I did." They resumed dancing, but something had changed. The performance was over. What remained was honesty. "Why help me?" she asked after a moment. Ethan hesitated, then answered. "My wife left when Lily was 2. She said I cared more about building ideas than building an image. When the company took off, she wanted back in. Not for me, for the lifestyle. Ava's eyes softened. I learned something, he continued. The right people don't stay because you're successful. They stay because you're kind. Tears welled in her eyes, not from embarrassment, but from recognition. For months, she had questioned her worth. Wondered if Ryan was right. Wondered if she needed to be more polished, more profitable, more impressive to be loved. And here stood a man who had everything, yet valued integrity over image. The dance ended, but neither moved away. Over the next hour, they talked. Not about money, not about business, about Lily's science projects, about Ava's paintings, about starting over when the world thinks you've failed. For the first time in months, Ava laughed freely. Ryan watched from across the room, realizing too late that he had mistaken value for vanity. Weeks passed. Ethan visited Ava's small art studio with Lily, who immediately fell in love with the canvases. Ava began mentoring children in community workshops funded quietly by Ethan's foundation, though he never told her it was his money supporting the program. Their relationship grew slowly, carefully. Two wounded people learning trust again. But challenges remained. A tabloid eventually discovered their connection and published headlines about the billionaire and the struggling artist. Critics accused Ava of chasing wealth. Old doubts resurfaced. One night, overwhelmed, Ava confronted Ethan. What if they're right? What if people think I'm with you for your money? Ethan took her hands. The only people who measure love in dollars are the ones who've never truly felt it. He introduced her not as his girlfriend at a corporate event, but as the most courageous woman I know. Months later, at a quiet school fundraiser, not a glamorous gala, Ethan stood before a small crowd of parents and children. Lily beamed in the front row. Ava stood beside him. I built a company, he said simply, but my greatest investment was learning that success means nothing if you don't use it to lift others. He turned to Ava, and sometimes, he added softly, all it takes is one dance to remind someone of their worth. Tears filled her eyes again, but